I'm gonna get the air tank.
Yeah, we need an air tank. I gotta find keys. We're gonna have to push the Mustang back. The other Mustang quit. And there's a startup video for it that we can't find. So that's why it's not on there. Yeah, this is the red parts Mustang. My other Mustang, which we had a really nice one, it fired up, did great this year. It's normally my normal summer driver with the convertible. Right now, it is showing no computer, even though I stole the computer out of this one, put it in the other one. They have different codes on them, but might ought to sort of work. Didn't make any difference. I believe that it's the CCRM, Constant Current Relay Module, which I did some studying on that. We'll do a video actually on that when the part comes in, because there's a lot of misinformation out on the internet about that. But right now I'm going to move my pickup and I'm going to look for a key for the Buick, which that Buick, when we got it, I paid $100 for it. And not only did it come with 2 flat tires, no brakes, and it looked really bad, but it came with keys and a title.
Wow.
And I found in the back seat it had a new replacement master cylinder. So
nice.
It had the parts to make the brakes work, sorta. It pulls really bad too. We got to prime it with gas to make it run. But it's kind of a cool old car. And I had to put a new valve stem in this tire right here before it would take air. And yeah, we'll get it fired up. We'll run it.
Oh, now it's recording upside down. This goddamn thing.
It's recording upside down.
I mean, yeah, look.
Why?
I don't know.
What a communist piece of shit. So we've got a hot air intake.
Cool.
Actually, they carved out the fender well. It's a cold air intake now, but it's got this weird harmonic balancer on here, and it's got headers, BBK headers actually. It's got subs. Got some sweet aftermarket. Got some weird stuff done to it. There's some adjustment plates here.
Yeah.
I don't know if these are actual coil. They're not actual coilovers. They're just camber adjustment. But yeah. Mystery wires going random places.
The classic. Yeah, that wire was hooked into that brake and just, it was taped to the harness and didn't go anywhere.
Did you say it goes to the brake controller?
Damn. I remember this needing a brake bolt. I mean a battery bolt. I remember not actually putting these terminals on correctly last year.
That seems about the reason.
Well, we're just not going to put them on correctly again. It started last year that way. Just push them on, don't worry about bolts and whatever later.
Most of my batteries haven't been tightened down.
And the antifreeze stayed over the winter. It's just slightly down from the top, which is probably where it ran, because the return bottles never work on these older vehicles. Well, last year we needed to use some priming gasoline to make it go every time.
That's a custom throttle return spring.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And this is my same can that was in the trunk last year, but it was just full of parts for the actual work that we were planning on doing this year. We might have to do this a couple times. It's got to sit here idle for 10-15 minutes before it'll actually move. Otherwise it just dies.
Oh, I'm happy. Sounds like my snow machine.
Your snow machine sounds like a sexy hot rod?
Oh no, it smells like a snow machine. I wish it sounded like that.
That'd be a cool sled.
Well, shit, that would mean it runs.
Nope, needs some more fuel.
Give her a little snoot. Dump it all over like
Gotta get it where it will idle on its own first.
What's that?
The interior doesn't smell nearly as bad as it did last year.
hardtop kind of awesome this year. Like,
It sounds really good.
it's got an exhaust leak.
Nice.
I think it doesn't have a muffler.
It's still got to do that for 10 minutes before it'll move.
What's the
Otherwise,
gas
it just
shooting out of
dies.
there?
What?
What's the vapor shooting out of there? Oh, that's the exhaust leak. Yeah, okay. Smells like rubber.
Oh, that's the ATF leak.
Oh, actually,
Yeah, I
yeah, it does
forgot
smell
about
like ATF.
Yeah, I was like, it's coming out of the dipstick tube.
Let's buy it.
No, it's coming out of
Do
the
we
dipstick
need
tube.
some ATF in it also?
No, it's coming out the top. It might have too much. It's coming out of here. And it's dripping down the valve cover right onto the manifold.
Oh.
Nice. It's definitely interesting.
Well, last year it was this one here was just going right on the manifold because there's a crack in that line.
That,
Not that one. No,
Sounds
it's
like-
another different one underneath. Yeah, no, that's just a heat riser.
yeah, I was gonna say that is.
Yeah, we gotta make
That's
room.
got fluid in it. That's a problem.
Anyway, yeah, this is the back.
Oh, that's right.
That should work. Yep.
All right, we got our point of view video for you're pushing a dead Mustang out of the way.
It's normal Mustang thing. It's either broken or it's crashed. I mean, I love Ford, but you know, it's either broken or it's working really
And
well.
I have new
I hate that the truth though.
new brake wheel cylinders and adjusters for this one too. This one also folds.
Oh, and the interior parts.
And I bought a rug.
A whole
New
Oh,
rug.
rug. Is it just for the front or back too?
Full thing.
Ooh,
Front and
Nice.
back. Yeah,
Is
everything.
it
All rug.
black, I hope.
Yes.
Good.
I wanted to do seats. I really did. But when you look at pad plus covering, just for the driver's seat was going to be $1,000. I'm like,
wow.
no, yeah, there's no more cheap. And I couldn't even find cheap, you know, throwaway pullover that fit them because it's too old of a style.
Oh, the
Okay.
freaking low
All the
back
generic
seats.
ones have rise, you know, risen seats or
If you want seat covers for those things for just generic pullovers, they're like $200.
yeah, you might as well put that towards the 1,000.
Yeah.
So I'll probably keep using, but I might duct tape them on. I'm using towels in here right now from my house, which made it where we could set in it without feeling really gross last year. And it helped a lot rolling around with the windows down to let the bugs and stuff
yeah.
blow out.
There's a lot of stuff.
It was used daily up until some point that they ignored it. The big thing with it is the windows, front and rear windshields are rusted to where they leak through.
Okay, yeah.
So that'll be one of the things too, is we'll get a black bead, a sealer over both of them to seal it up so it doesn't have more water going in.
Yeah.
You
To
notice it-
minimize the extra damage, not really looking at repairing it. That's a lot of work. I did that on my 68. I did it on my 68 Malibu, which was my first car, and I think that's part of why I like this. My first car was a 68 Malibu, same size class, General Motors. Just something about, it wasn't quite as sporty as this one though, but it was definitely in better shape. And I took and rebuilt it, spent 3 months rebuilding all the body stuff and resealed the motor. Didn't do anything much else to it. That was my first car.
Nice.
I bought the car about 3 months before I turned 16, you know, proper time. Bought it from my sister. She couldn't stand the water pouring in the windshield.
Raining outside and inside.
Yes, it really rained inside. I was down in Washington.
Oh,
Nice.
like a Jeep.
And I remember driving it home. She had gotten a newish, this was 1978. No, what am I saying? 78, 76. Yeah, 76. I turned 6, yeah. 76. She had bought a half-a-year-old 75 Maverick from Hertz Rent-A-Car. They regularly buy cars. At that time, they were buying cars in pieces. They could buy them cheaper from Ford. They'd buy them in pieces, bolt them together themselves, and then resell them after. And so that was part of how they were making money. They'd use them for a little while as a rental, and they'd sell them. Anyway, she bought one from there, and we went over in the car that she had owned that I was buying, went to the airport, picked up her rental car, which she got in, and she gave me permission, because she was big sister, it's okay. She gave me permission, even though I just barely had a learner's permit, to drive from Portland, Oregon back home.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, big sis says it's okay, it must be okay. So she gave me permission to drive without a license. I had it planned how I was going to tell that to the cop if I got caught, you know. My sister said it was okay, give her the ticket. So anyway, so on my way coming back home, of course, I have to choose which way I'm going, and the most logical way was to come over the hill into Grass Valley. Well, over the hill also meant that there was a turn, and I could go directly to Grass Valley, or I could go down the other side and up a really steep hill and back down again to my buddy's Clyde's house. So I went to visit my buddy Clyde's in my new car before I had my license, before I took it home to set it up where I could actually drive it. And then I put it in my name also, which kind of freaked out the insurance people, because apparently at that time it was illegal for a 16-year-old to own a car. But they didn't ask me if I was 16 or not when I put it in my name, so I put it in my name.
I did the same thing with my 79 Power Wagon. It's still illegal to do that.
Yeah.
I had my truck registered to me at 16, and they were like,
but
yeah.
they gave me insurance, and I went on, and after that I was over 16, so it didn't matter no more later on. Let's see if you'll move.
I think I actually tagged my truck when I was 14 or 15.
Damn.
I think it was 15. It was like not too much longer.
Oh yeah.
Now that it's warm, it will restart at least.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. But getting it moving is a little bit of a chore.
Why does it like to die like that when it's cold?
There's no accelerator pump. There's probably other stuff plugged up in the carburetor.
What was that?
That was Austin banging on the back of the car. Is he gonna go on?
Wow, nice hood. Nice one.
Yeah, all these old vehicles have good. You gotta roll your window down. It really sucks in here without some ventilation. You gonna go?
What?
You gonna go?
Yeah. Trunk was closed. We're open.
Oh! I thought you were just making noise at us.
No, the trunk popped back open when he went over a bump and it flexed.
I forgot. You gotta really make sure it's closed. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's another thing. You gotta really make sure it's closed. You'll think it's closed.
Here we go.
Bonnie by Fisher.
It's the in between it doesn't like. It likes going full speed once you get moving a little.
Oh yeah.
This is one they call a switch pitch transmission. It's a combination of a torque converter for a 400 turbo hydromatic that they used in the Oldsmobiles with a power glide main body. And so it seems like it has 3 speeds because the torque converter pitch changes. Even though it's a 2-speed transmission, you can count 3 changes. Weird. Yeah. Oh yeah, I should figure out which way the brakes turns. Yeah. I don't remember which way they pull, but I know they do pull. Actually, they're kind of just not impressed aggressive right now. But pretty straight. Yeah,
Yeah.
relatively straight.
Hold on a little bit to the right.
But I like this one. The wagon's in a lot better shape, but I like this old car. There's a couple holes rusted through the trunk.
This is a proper beater.
Yeah, it is. This is awesome.
And I've got, if I want to take it up, but you know, there's no such thing as a free motor. I can get a free motor that needs to be overhauled. It's a 455 Buick.
Yeah.
Which would fit in here, but would not work well with this transmission anyway. So I'd still have to find a 4 or 5 speed to put behind it to get what you want. And then you still got to overhaul the transmission. So I mean the engine itself. So even though you get a free engine, it's not like it's the reason it's free is because he put in another one that's overhauled. And I'll let you know when we hit 60. So we got a decent enough time. Okay. We'll get this in by do it rolling start.
Oh.
It's a 10-second car, bro.
That was a big deal at one time. I didn't remember the tires wobbling quite this much. But I do have wheel bearings for it. The tires are, I mean, I don't think they're over 20 years old.
She's running like the spaceship Challenger.
That's got a muffler on one bank. It sounds good.
Yes,
But
it
it's
does.
got a muffler on one bank and a cut-off pipe on the other. Because when I got it, the pipe on the one side, the muffler was hanging on the ground. And it actually was in good shape. I didn't realize that it just needed to be pulled up to the hanger. But I took the sawzall to it before I investigated further.
Hey, they're hearing again. I don't think you realized it was you. Forklift style, gotta keep the car running.
Yeah.
I saw a joke about that recently. It says, I'm not revving at the stoplight because I'm an asshole. I just have to keep the car running.
Yeah, it's got quite a bit more tire hop than it did last year. It was pretty smooth last year. Yeah, I actually did not take it up to 95 last year. Because
Oh,
that would be illegal.
We did that in Mexico.
Yeah, that was in Mexico.
Perfect car for a road trip to Mexico.
From all the way from Fairbanks to Mexico, just to do a speed run.
So you don't like to go very fast today and then, yeah, bounce the tire. Amount of places to park this to work on my brakes and my rug, and we'll figure it out.
Park it right up front.
Oh yeah, there's other stuff that happens there too. I got the wagon in the back, but I really want to work on this one first.
It's more beautiful.
and then you roll
We'll
my
figure it
window
out.
up.
Anyway,
I love it.
it is started up.
I love
Now we need to make sure it's not on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so picture this.
Ah,
It's 1973,
Yeah.
tires
and everybody's
still low.
on drugs,
Yep.
and this car rolls through your neighborhood.
Nice.
You call the cops. I think you would get the cops called on you if this thing showed up in your neighborhood. I don't know. I like this car because it reminds me of a 2-lane blacktop.
This is a perfect car for drug dealing today. They'll never suspect it.
Nobody would ever suspect a thing. It's not suspicious at all. Well, that's how I feel with my Subaru that's all clapped out. Every panel's fucked up on it, and it's got a rust hole in the muffler, and you cannot sneak with it. And I have been pulled over coming out of trailer parks and accused of being on drugs with it. It was only one time, but it did happen.
We have replacement parts. That hole is supposed to be there.
What about
This one is not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one's not supposed to. There's one over there under that spare tire, which I don't know if that's really a spare tire or just a piece that looks like it used to be a spare tire. But,
That is a spacious trunk.
oh yeah, it's good old days. And I've got a new, I don't have another bumper for it. There was somebody that had an absolutely pristine 4-door that didn't run down in Anchorage just a week after I got this car. But they wouldn't hold it for me to go down to Anchorage and get it. They wouldn't even talk about it.
Oh.
They were giving it away for free.
Oh.
I'm like, I'll pay you, you know, hang
Yeah.
on to it. I did. It was a 4-door, but it was just absolutely straight. It just didn't run, and I'm like, perfect for parts. Or somebody else, which I like 4-doors too. But this is more better for flying around with.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
I should probably pull off the chrome instead of gluing it in. Probably, and I figure somebody has put some silicone on here now, but I'll use the better urethane window sealer and just make a nice black edging around it so that it's sealed up. So we don't need more water coming into the inside. Rail gutters are okay. It's the windows. That was General Motors did that starting with their smaller cars. They started out with the Nova, and they came up with the Nova, and then the Chevelles, and which this is the same size as the Chevelle, and all of those. They used a glue-in windshield, and that's a standard they do today. But they use lots of glue and seal up the whole hole today.
Yeah.
And these days they used a little bit of glue. They stuck it in, and right next to that glue, water would set there the way the bodies were shaped, and it would just set in there and rust through. So they were good for about the first 10 years in a wet climate,
Okay.
and or less. 10 years or less, because I had them in 60. I was running 68s pretty much that were built that way, and I had several of them from 76, which would have been 8 years, until 79, where that would have been 11 years old. And then I came to Alaska, and then I became pickup man until later. But I ran nothing but pickups here for about 30 years.
Yeah. That's pretty standard.
Because, yeah, they're practical up here. You get to doing things, and yeah. And then I found out that I still liked cars. Oh, it's not done yet.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so at some point we'll probably fire up the 525 horse twin turbo MRS Mississippi Road Scraper. MRS is the brand. You can get a hold of the people at MRS, and they are now a plastics manufacturing plant, and you talk to them there and they go, huh? We did what? When? This was made in 1980, which is only 40 years ago now, but the people that made it, they totally forgot that they made it. There's this little bit of information about them on the internet. And I fired it up 2 years ago, and it attacked me at an auction. That's why it came home. There was an auction that things were just going too cheap, and I thought, oh, we could use the engine out of that for something. We could use the pan for building mining equipment, or we could use it for moving dirt. which is what it's made for.
Wow.
And I thought if it went cheap enough, I would buy a bid on it, mostly because people had been talking at the auction at how it just drove into the auction site just fine, no problems, no nothing. And then I became the proud owner of a scraper, which we really don't use, but it all works. It's a 6-speed Allison, like I said already, 12V71 Detroit engine. It's 4-wheel steer, 4-wheel drive on the front. The back is undriven. And I talked to the guy that used to operate this machine for the company that sold it, and he said that, you know, if you're keep it under 5 miles an hour, the brakes work most of the time. And he said, do not, and when you're driving it on the highway, he said, do not let it go out of gear until you're at the bottom of the, into a higher gear. I mean, don't go past first gear. Just use first gear to go down the hills.
Yeah.
And then when you get, because he drove it all the way from Anchorage into Fairbanks one time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, for some project, back and forth. And
wow.
He said, but do not take it out of gear till you are at the bottom of the hill. And there was a few feet of hill left at the over here as I was driving it home. We actually even got permits when we drove it out here. I mean, it was somewhat legal. And this thing's 12 foot wide, or 14, I forget. Actually.
Wow.
It's 12 or 14. It holds 28 yards. We did get a permit. I didn't want to get ticketed right away. It was kind of obvious. You know, no mufflers, twin turbo, 12.7. It made noise. Everybody knew we were coming. It announced itself. But anyway, I did actually take it out of gear when I was almost at the bottom of the hill, at point where it normally in a vehicle seems, I was doing 45 before I knew it. And the tires, because the out of balance, were coming off of the pavement. They were actually, the balance was picking them up off the pavement.
Oh my God.
And I realized at that point that he was absolutely right, and it should not have came out of the lowest gear until I got all the way to the bottom of the hill. But it was already done by then. Yeah, it was interesting. I lived. You know, it bounced a little, moved lanes, but oh, hey, something else that is not, while we're doing an addendum to our little quick Buick fire up, is this one over here, the Torino. The Torino is not mine. It's not a first fire up. It's going to be a first fire up later on. This is Austin is working on this. This is not mine, but it's Austin's. It is actually an authentic 428 Cobra Jet car. And the problem is, of course, somebody else wanted the Cobra Jet motor more than it could be patrolled. So it's now getting roughly a 410, an overboard 390. It ran pretty good. It was in a pickup. And he has a 4-speed top loader for it, which is the weaker, later 4-speed overdrive, which is better for driving but not as good for racing. So the pickup transmission will come off and it will jump in the car. And we don't know what's going to happen for exhaust or anything yet. But cute little project Austin's working on.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave it at that. That's enough preemptive. At this point, there's other things. We got hit and miss engines to fire up at some point, and the 988's already been running this year.